I guess some of you have ever visited a former German concentration camp, but have you ever visited a former Soviet camp, you know, the Gulag? Well, I'm now in Perm 36, and this video I'm gonna talk to you about the history of the Gulag. Already right after the Bolsheviks seized power in October 1917, they set up concentration camps to intern the enemies of the revolution. Early 1920s, the Solovetsky prison camp was established on the island in the Arctic Sea, where people had to work in the freezing cold and where many of them would die. But this here was only the beginning, because when Joseph Stalin gained power in 1927 and he expelled his rival Leon Trotsky, he unleashed his 5-year plan, where the agriculture had to be collectivized and the country had to be industrialized. This met a lot of resistance, and the so-called wealthy farmers that were resisting Stalin's ideas were called Kulaks, and they had to be punished, and many of them were shot, exiled, or sent to the Gulag. So what does Gulag mean? Well, Gulag is basically an acronym for what stands right here, and it basically means Main Directorate of Camps. It consisted of 487 different camps, according to historian Anna Applebaum, who wrote the book The Gulag. I'm now at Perm 36, which was a Gulag camp that was located near the central Russian city of Perm, and it was established after the Second World War in 1946, where basically inmates had to chop wood because the logs were used for the rebuilding of Stalingrad, current Volgograd, that was so devastated by the Second World War. And this here is the only camp that is left from Stalinist times. Keep watching to find out why. So early in the 1930s there was the first big wave of arrests. People were sent to the gulags. Around 1937, when the Great Purge commenced, a second wave of people followed. So many people were sentenced after fabricated political charges. So for example, you were telling a joke about Stalin and then you were condemned for counter-revolutionary activities, or you arrived too late at work and you were condemned for sabotage or acts of terrorism against the state, or there was a neighbor that didn't like you and reported you to the authorities. That was already enough for being arrested. So after you were being arrested, you were being interrogated, and after that a sentence followed. People were transported in cattle carts to the Gulag, and because of exposure to the elements, also the lack of water and food, many of these so-called Zaks, the people that were sentenced to the Gulag, died during the way to the Gulag, and they were buried next to the rail tracks. When arriving at the camps, the Zaks were shaved, and on many occasions camp uniforms were distributed, and prisoners experienced this as some kind of initiation ritual for being transformed from an individual into an anonymous being. And after this they were selected, and this was a very crucial moment for the Zaks. Anna Applebaum wrote the following about this. Theoretically, prisoners' work assignments were meant to reflect two sets of criteria: their social origin and sentence, and their health. In these early days, prisoners were put into three categories: working class prisoners not convicted of counter-revolutionary crimes with sentences not longer than 5 years, working class prisoners not convicted of counter-revolutionary crimes with sentence above 5 years, and those sentenced to counter-revolutionary crimes. Each of these three categories of workers was then assigned to one of the three categories of prison regime: privileged, light, and first order or heavy. Then they were meant to be examined by a medical commission, which determined whether they were able to carry out heavy work or light work. After taking into account all these criteria, the camp administration would then assign each prisoner to a job. And then working life began. The food rations were low and the labor was very hard. People died of sickness, of malnutrition, of exhaustion. The camp guards were often severe, and female inmates ran the risk of being raped. Now, not all camps were as bad as the other one. The camps in Vorkuta and Kolyma were the most notorious, and in a camp like this, the circumstances were reasonable, but generally speaking, the circumstances were abysmal. Now, you might think that only Soviet citizens shared this tragic fate, but that isn't the case. Countless Polish people were arrested and deported to the gulags after the Soviet invasion of Eastern Poland in 1939. After the Second World War, German and Japanese POWs found their way to the Gulag, as well as many Finns, Hungarians and Romanians. Some Americans have ended up in the Gulag, and after the Second World War, another wave of arrests followed. So how many people have been sentenced to the Gulag? Well, that is hard to say. According to historian Anna Applebaum, it comes to a total of 28.7 million prisoners, of which around 2.7 million have died in the Gulag. But these numbers are highly disputed. The misery continued till 1953. Then Stalin died, and right after that many prisoners were released. Many camps were closed and eventually removed, and as of today this here is the only former Gulag camp that is open for visitors. And some Russian nationalists want to remove this camp as well, therefore removing the traces of the dark Russian past. So perhaps in the future this camp can no longer be visited as well. Now, if you would like to see more pictures of this very interesting place, please check out my Instagram page. Also check me out on Patreon, because with your donations I can make trips like these and go to these amazing historical places by covering history on location for you. Do not forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Until next time.